Can we have some more imagination working, some more creativity? I like the way you're coming up with new things. And I'm still waiting. Man asks his father what I need to do to convince you to marry my girlfriend. Ranganathan, that was great sense of humor. Well, okay. Now, I think we close the storytelling and we will move on. Thank you so much, guys, for all that imagination and creativity. I really enjoyed it. Now, what was the purpose of this storytelling? The purpose of the storytelling was perception. What is perception? Perception is, in communication, if somebody tries to communicate a message to you, and each person understands the message differently. They perceive differently. The same message, you have 10 people listening to the same message, and maybe most of them have different meanings attached to it. Maybe they understand differently. Now, if you look at the picture in front of you, the first picture shows how the customer was trying to explain what he wanted done. The second picture shows how the sales executive understood it, how he perceived it. And the third picture shows how it was actually designed. So you can see how perception works in communication. The meaning is always different. Now let's look at another example of miscommunication. A memo was sent from the CEO to the manager of a company. The memo from the CEO read, "Today at 11 o'clock, there will be a total eclipse of the sun. This is when the sun disappears behind the moon for 2 minutes. As this is something that cannot be seen every day, time will be allowed for employees to view the eclipse in the parking lot. Staff should meet in the lot at 10 minutes to 11, when I will deliver a short speech introducing the eclipse and giving some background information. Safety goggles will be made available at a small cost." The same memo goes from the manager to the department head and reads, "Today at 10 to 11, all staff should meet in the car park. This will be followed by a total eclipse of the sun, which will appear for 2 minutes. For a moderate cost, this will be made safe with goggles. The CEO will deliver a short speech beforehand to give us all some information. This is not something that can be seen every day." Now the department head sends the same message to the floor manager. However, his words are, "The CEO will today deliver a short speech to make the sun disappear for 2 minutes in the form of an eclipse. This is something that cannot be seen every day. So staff will meet in the car park at 10 or 11. This will be safe if you pay a moderate cost." The same message goes from the floor manager to the supervisor. The supervisor writes, 10 or 11 staff are to go to the car park where the CEO will eclipse the sun for 2 minutes. This doesn't happen every day. It will be safe, and as usual, it will cost you. Finally, the message from the supervisor to the staff. Some staff will go to the car park today to see the CEO disappear. It is a pity that this doesn't happen every day. This was a perfect example of perception. One message, how it is understood by different people, is called perception. Now let's look at the picture in front of us. Now tell me, or let's say write to me by IM. Tell me, what do you see in the picture? I'm waiting, guys. What do you see in the picture? Anybody? Okay, good. You see a lady, one old woman, one old Mother Teresa in a sweater, woman looking behind. Srivatsan sees a girl, Vandana sees an old lady, Jitendra sees a girl with a feather looking something, and Ashwini sees a queen looking around sides. Alright, great. Now, why is it that we look at the same picture and some see an old lady and some see a young girl? Again, that's perception for you. Now look at this picture and tell me what you see. A man playing a guitar, right? Manoj? People playing music. Okay, Prabhu. An old lady and an old woman. Prabhu, you're right. Two men sitting. Okay. One playing a guitar and the other wearing a hat. All right. One is playing music. Three men and two women. A wine glass. Perfect. Woman looking from the door. That is from the ear of the person on the right, the old man. Okay guys, now one picture and you come up with so many things. Amazing. So that is what we mean by perception. I think now you're clear about it. Yes? Okay, let's move on. Remedies for perception. The errors in perception can be overcome by taking more time and avoiding instant or snap judgment about others. We can be more focused, or our thoughts can be more clear when we take more time on thinking about things, we take more time in trying to understand things, and we don't immediately judge other people. We try to understand things before passing any judgment. We need to gather more information about other people, awareness of how our personal bias affects our perception. When we know that if we are biased, it affects our perception and we may be understanding things wrongly. So we should not be biased. Now, what do you mean by bias? Bias is when you have preconceived notions, when you have thoughts that may be right or may not be right, which are already there before you meet a person or something like that. The connection between aspects of personality and appearance and behavior on the other. When you look at a person, if the person is dressed very well, very smart, that does not necessarily mean that person is a very nice person. On the other hand, if you look at a person who's very shabby, very poor, wearing torn clothes, that does not mean that person is a bad person. We also judge people on the way they behave, if they are well-mannered or if they are rude. So all these things put together, we have some sort of a preconceived notion thinking that, okay, this person must be like this person must be like this. So what we need to do is, instead of immediately making judgment about people, or instead of immediately become critical about people, we need to know more about them so that we don't have a wrong perception. The main sources of errors in perception include the following. The mistakes in perception would be when we don't collect enough information. Basing on judgment on information that is irrelevant or insignificant. We cannot judge somebody or something based on information that we get about that particular thing, which is not at all related, which makes no sense, which is irrelevant. Seeing what we expect to see and what we want to see and not looking further. We should not be biased, we should not be prejudiced, and we only want to see what we want to see, but we refuse to look further than that. We should not be like that. We should have an open mind. Allowing earliest information about someone or something to affect our judgment despite later and contradictory information. Let me tell you, the subject field is very, very important. Why is it important? Because it determines the priority that the reader will be giving to your email in the inbox. Now suppose your subject is very specific and correct. He will definitely open it immediately and read it. But if your subject is very generic, he may keep it as pending or even delete it without even reading it. So the subject has to be something which is very specific and never generic. The subject is a small definition of what the body of the email is. It's a small brief description. But that does not mean that the subject line gets too long. It should be brief, but it should be a small description of what the body is. Now, we can never have the subject as a generic thing. It should be something very specific. You will never put a thank you, a welcome, and sorry, and meeting, and report in a subject because it's very generic. So what you'll do is you'll make the subject very specific. For example, if your subject needs to be something to do with a meeting, let's say, for example, that your manager has sent you an email saying that there's going to be a meeting on the 28th of June to discuss escalations. Now, when you write the email, you will not write meeting and leave it. The subject will be escalation meeting on 28th of June. Mandatory that you have to mention the date. Mandatory that you have to mention what type of a meeting it is. Because offices and organizations conduct different type of meetings. And if you don't mention in the subject what meeting it is about, nobody is going to take it seriously. So please mention what type of meeting and please mention the date. If it's a report, do not just write report in the subject line and send it. Please mention what type of report is it. If suppose it's a SQL report, you will mention SQL report and also mention the duration for which the report is prepared. We have reports which are prepared daily. We have reports which are prepared weekly. We have reports which are prepared for a fortnight, 15 days, monthly, 6 monthly, yearly, etc. So if it's a SQL report, you will say SQL report 19 June 2014 if the report is only for today. If the report is for a weekly basis, then you will say SQL report 1st to 7th of June. If it's a monthly SQL report, you will say SQL report June 2014. If it's a yearly report, you will say SQL report 2014. I hope you got all that clear. Okay, so now please understand that no email should be sent without the subject line. It's very, very important to send an email with a subject. Never send an email without a subject. The next part of the email is the header. Then we have the actual body. Then we have the footer, the ending to the email, and then we have a signature. So let's move on and see what comes next. Now, here's a sample email. People sometimes write very vague emails which are not even clear. Now, please read this and tell me, who's the client here? What do you understand? Hi, Subhash. I wanted to let you know that I will be at office from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Please ensure that the project-related queries are emailed between this time. Regards, Raj. When you read an email like this, it's so confusing, it's so unclear. You really have no idea whether Subhash is the client or Raj is the client. Okay, Ajay Kumar Singh thinks that Subhash is the client. Anybody else? Raj is the client, Jitendra. Subhash is the client, Prabhu. Well, my dear friends, actually it's absolutely unclear whether Subhash is the client or Raj is the client. And my main purpose in showing you this is to tell you that we never write emails like this. We need to write emails which are clear. Yes, Ranganathan, I agree with that. It's unclear, it's confusing. Okay, anyway, we'll move on. Effective email communication. Please look at the screen in front of you and look at this email. Dear Tina, hope you're doing well. In response to your resume posted in one of the job portals, I'm forwarding this email to you. ST Services is a human resource consulting organization providing manpower to the IT industry and BPO-related sectors in India and abroad. We have an urgent opening with one of our clients, which is a well-established IT company, for the position of a manager CRM. The company is a well-established software development MNC, majorly working for airlines and travel domains, with their strong presence at various locations in India and abroad. The job requirement is as under. Ideal candidate should have 5+ years of experience working into customer relationship management, account management into an IT company. Should have the experience into account management, client management, account growth, lead generation, invoicing, follow-up, etc. We will get back to you with all the details after receiving your confirmation. Hoping for an early response. Thanks and regards, Rita Singh, Senior Associate, ST Services. Now, I'm sure all of you will agree that this was quite clear. The entire information is clear, and whatever needed to be expressed was expressed. Thanks all of you for agreeing with me. What is the body of an email? The main part of an email message, which contains the actual information or arbitrary data, such as text or images, is what is called the body of an email, is the main part of an email. It may contain either text or it may contain images. However, the header contains only control and meta information. Let's look at a few email formatting guidelines. What do you mean when we say personalize your emails? What do you understand by that? When I say personalize your emails, I mean that there's a human being at the other end who will receive your email and who will be reading your email. So you need to be paying personalized attention to that person. And one way of being personalized is by taking the name of the other person. When you actually speak to a person, taking the name of that person, the person feels good instead of a generic sir or madam. Guys, corporate trends have changed. These days, the very ordinary sir or madam has changed to calling each other by the first name. There's a reason that, let's say for a place like US, and if you have US citizens as clients, there's a reason that they don't like to be addressed as sir and madam. The reason is that these people do not like formality. That is the only reason why. Okay, Arun, I'm coming to your question. What to do if we do not know the name? I'll just come to that. Okay, people from USA, do not like anybody addressing them as sir or madam. The only reason being they don't like formality. So they're very happy when you address them by their first name. However, to be on the safe side, the first time you're actually communicating with an American, let's say, instead of taking the name, the first name, if you're not very comfortable, what you can do is, if you know their name, the full name, please put a salutation in front of the last name. Now let's say the person's name is Tom Smith. You will put a Mr. in front of the Smith and not in front of Tom. Global etiquette says salutation should always be put in front of the last name, never in front of the first name. So as we discussed, if the gentleman's name is Tom Smith, you will not call him Mr. Tom, you will address him as Mr. Smith. Now, there's a reason that people from UK and other European countries do not like you to address them as sir and madam. There's a reason. The reason being that the Queen of England, every year, she selects 2, 3, 4 gentlemen from any part of the world who have done immense contribution to mankind, to society, in terms of science, sports, music, movies, any field. So she chooses 3 or 4 people. She invites them to England. There's a function called knighthood, which is spelled Knighthood. Knighthood. The K is silent, so you pronounce it knighthood. So when these people go to the Queen's Palace, this is a major honor. It's very prestigious for somebody to actually attend this function and be granted knighthood from the Queen. So during this function, the men who are selected, their names would be called. They go and sit on their knees in front of the Queen. She places a sword on their shoulders and then on their head. And then she says, "From now I proclaim you a knight." Knight. So the moment the Queen proclaims a man as a knight, people cannot address him as Mr. So-and-so. They're supposed to address him as Sir. So what happens is, when we address somebody as Sir, who has not got the honor from the Queen, he gets very embarrassed. So that's the reason why we do not address them as Sir, unless they have got the honor from the Queen. Now, we do not address any woman as Madam, because Madam refers to a lady who is involved in prostitution. I know this will be shocking for you, but if you address any lady from a good family as Madam, in few of those European countries, they will get very upset. Anyway, my dear friends, trends have changed in the corporate world, and we call everybody by their first name. It's perfectly fine to do so, irrespective of the status. Can be our boss, can be the GM, can be the CEO, but that's the trend that is followed today. Now, one of our friends, Arun, he said, what do we do when we don't know the name of the person? Arun, if you're talking on the telephone, it would be perfectly fine for you to say, could you please tell me your name? May I know your name? But if you're on the email and you don't know the name, instead of saying sir or madam, you can just write it as a hi. Okay, we will come to that now. Okay, but even on the email, you can definitely ask for the person's name. Now, Using the correct email construction. First, the greeting, how we are supposed to greet the client. Then you come to the header, is the opening of the email. Then we come to the body, which is the actual content in the email. The footer, which is the closing of the email, and the signature. Guys, please remember one thing. The greeting and header in an email is as important as the footer also. It's not enough if you start the email properly. You need to also finish the email properly with soft skills. Soft skills are very important while writing an email. Use grammatically correct English. Please always have your spell check on. Use stylistically appropriate English. The need of the day today is not to use flowery language, not to use big words. It's not that we need to showcase how good we are in the language. But the need of the day today is to use simple and clear English, which anybody across the globe can understand. Use correct spellings. Guys, you have to remember that when we deal with Americans, there are some words which are spelled different in US, some words which are spelled different in UK. We follow British English. The most standardized form of English in the world today is British English. British English is very standardized, is very proper. Now, the Queen of England, the English that she speaks is filtered or refined to an extent by BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation. Now, after the filtering is done, then the English which emerges is referred to as the Queen's English or received pronunciation. So the most standardized form of English today originates from UK, British English. One thing we need to remember when we compose an email is we often become very careless regarding the punctuation marks. But the punctuation marks are very, very important. The full stop, the comma, the exclamation, everything is very important. So please do not forget your full stops. Please do not forget your commas, exclamation, bracket, etc. Format your emails so that they look visually pleasing to the eye. Your emails need to look very neat, that the moment somebody opens your email, it looks neat, it looks tidy, and it looks pleasing to the eye. The content should be easily readable. Choose a good font. Guys, please remember, you do not use 2 and 3 fonts in the same email. You should be using only one font. Something like Calibri 11 or Times Roman can be acceptable when you write an official email. The content should be rendered in a consistent manner across diverse computer systems. Everybody owns different type of computers. But once you send a message, it should look the same irrespective of whatever computer system the person is owning. It should look neat, it should look readable, and it should look consistent. Now, we were speaking about personalization. Why do you think that personalization is essential? It's very important because it removes the distant feeling the customer would have if there was no personalization. He should not feel that he is communicating with a stranger. He should feel very comfortable. We should create a good rapport with the customer. So once we personalize the email, the customer or the client would definitely feel more comfortable in communicating with us. It makes the customer feel that someone has taken the pains to answer the exact questions which was asked, and that he's not communicating with the robot and getting robotic computer response. When you personalize an email, you make sure that you make the customer feel that you really care about his problems. That is where empathy will come in. There's a difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is when you feel sorry for somebody. Let's say you're walking on the road and there was an accident and you see somebody in pain. You feel sympathy for that person. However, empathy is when you know that somebody's got some, let's say some client has called you. He's got a major problem. You put yourself in the shoes of the client and try to experience why he's feeling bad, why he's feeling upset. That is what is called empathy. Trying to imagine the feelings or whatever that the customer or the client is feeling. So when you make the customer or the client feel that you actually care about him, about his problem, and you try to find a solution, whether it is by telephone or by email, it makes the customer feel very good. It paves the way to a long-term relationship with the customer. You have a long-term relationship when you're good with the client on the email, you're writing the email well, you're personalizing the entire email. Definitely the relationship between you and the customer or the client is going to be good. There are three things which can happen. Number one, the way you deal with the customer or a client can either result in the customer or the client being loyal to your organization, and he will not want to leave your organization and go to somebody else. Number two, he can give you even more increased business because he's so happy with the way you're dealing with him. Number three, if he's not happy, he's going to leave you and go. So there are three things that can happen, and definitely our emails, our telephones will make him take any one of the three steps. And what we need to do is not only retain the client or the customer, we need to get more business from him. He will go generating word of mouth about you and the company. Remember one thing, guys, it's not you. You are a representation of the company, the organization. Your email can do wonders. Now let's look at this email. Hi Suresh. Now we can say hi Suresh only when you have already created a very good rapport with the customer or the client. Somebody in US would be happy to say hi to you. However, first time if you're going to communicate with a customer or a client, for the first time, it would always be advisable to say, dear Mr. So-and-so. If you're writing an email to a lady called Sandy Cooper, I would strongly suggest that you say, dear Miss Cooper. 90% of the time, she will turn back and say, please address me by my first name. Once she tells you to call her by her first name, please do not think even twice. Start addressing her as by her first name. Okay, now the second thing is the header. You start with a greeting. Dear Miss Cooper, dear Mr. Smith. There has to be a comma immediately after the last letter in the name. You're looking in front of you. The name is Suresh. So there should not be any space between the H and the comma. Immediately after the last letter, you will put a comma. Mandatory that the comma needs to be there. Now we move on to the header. Header could be either greetings, number one, Number 2, good day. Number 3, greetings from the name of the organization that you're working with. Some people are very loyal to their organization, so they like to mention greetings from XYZ company. Now, I would not advise you all to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. The reason for that being, you're not sure when that person is going to read your email, number 1. Number 2 is the time difference. Suppose you're writing an email to somebody in USA and you're writing it at 8 p.m. and you say good evening. It's possible that he'll be reading it in the morning because it'll be morning there. So it's very wise and safe to say good day. Good day covers morning, afternoon, and evening. My friends, you must be aware that we never greet a client or a customer by saying good night, even if it's 11, 11:30, whatever. We always say good day because good day covers morning, afternoon, evening. Because of the time difference, it may become embarrassing if you say good morning or good afternoon or good evening. All right. So either good day or greetings from XYZ company. Now, you say either good day or you say greetings from XYZ company. And then the soft skills will come in here, which is mandatory. How are you doing? How are you? Hope you're doing fine. And if you have not been communicating with this particular client or customer for a few days, then you can also say, how have you been? But remember, after the greetings or good day or greetings from XYZ company, it's mandatory. And after the greetings is over, you need to put an exclamation and not a full stop. Then the soft skills will come in where you're saying, how are you doing? Then there'll be a question mark. Or how are you? Question mark. Hope you're doing fine does not need a question mark because it's not a question. Hope you're doing fine. Full stop. Okay, this is the header. Your soft skills is over. Then you come to the actual body of the email. Let's look at the example in front of us. Kindly find below instructions on how to transfer your personalized domain name to be hosted by yahoo.com. To notify our system of the change, please sign into yahoo.com, go to the site building section, scroll to the bottom and choose the web address, the URL task. Choose use a personalized web address that you already have. This is the body or whatever subject matter that you have. I don't mean the subject, but whatever you need to, write in the email will be the body. Trust you're doing well. Hope you're doing fine, Manoj. It's okay. Acceptable. Trust you're doing fine. But it would always be more official to say hope you're doing fine instead of saying trust you're doing fine. But trust you're doing fine is not wrong. My suggestion is you could say hope you're doing fine. Okay. The body of the email should be correct. It should have information. Please do not waste words. Do not write 10 sentences when just one sentence would help. Make your email short, brief, and concise. Today, people do not have the time and they do not have the patience to read a long email. Remember one thing. Each email will only talk about one topic. You cannot put 4 or 5 topics in one email. If you have 4 or 5 topics, then please make sure that you compose 4 or 5 emails. Doesn't matter if it's to the same client or customer. Email etiquette says that you cannot write 4 to 5 topics in one email. It should be only one topic in one email. If your one single topic also has got too much of information, there's too much there, you will not put it as one paragraph. You will break up and put it as 4 or 5 small paragraphs. If necessary, each paragraph can have a subheading. But please guys, remember, one email, one topic. Even if the topic is too long, break it up into small paragraphs. Nobody will get interested in reading it if they find one long, large paragraph. Now, we move on to the footer. I hope this information is of help to you. And please feel free to contact us for any further information that may be required regarding your yahoo.com account. Thanks and regards. Now, the footer also, like the header, needs a little bit of soft skills. Once your body is over, please have a footer which could also say, please contact us for any further information or assistance that may be required. Guys, if the customer or the client is asking you for some information, then you will write, please contact us for any further information that may be required. If he's asking you to assist him in some problem, then you will write, please contact us for any further assistance that may be required. Or you can write, please feel free to contact us for any further information that may be required. Once you write that, little bit of soft skills, and you say, I hope you have a wonderful day, full stop. I hope you have a great day, full stop. I hope you have a nice day. Any one of these. That is the soft skills that is required there. When you are closing, you will always say thanks and regards. Many of my trainees have asked me, why do you need to write thanks and regards? Why can't we just write regards? Guys, we need to be very refined in our communication. We need to be very polite. We need to show the reader that we come from a very cultured background. Thanks and regards. Thanks would stand for telling the client, I'm so grateful to you for giving me the opportunity to help you. Regards would mean best wishes. So you're thanking the client and you're also passing on your best wishes. So that is the reason that we put thanks and regards. Then you have the name of the person who's sending the email, which department, and name of the company. Now, my dear friends, I have one more thing to tell you. Please pay attention here. Prerna, it should be thanks. T-H-A-N-K-S. I'm sorry, there was only thank over there. That was a slight mistake, but it should be thanks and regards. All right. Now, guys, please look at the screen in front of you. I'm telling you something very important. Now, let's assume what we saw in front of us was what we normally write, the emails. Now, when we come to our office and we write an email, now let us say, suppose we are writing an email to Suresh, and in about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, Suresh responds back to us. And we respond back to him. He responds back to us. So you're exchanging emails to the same client or the customer more than once a day. Maybe twice, maybe 4 times, maybe 6 times, whatever. But when you come for the first time and write an email to him, you're coming on your shift to the office, sending an email to the customer, you will observe everything that is there in front of you. You will observe the greeting. You will observe the header. The body, of course, you have to write. You will observe the footer. And, of course, the signature. But just in case, on the same day, to the same client, you're writing a second email, third email, fourth email, then please remove the header. You cannot write to the same person 10 times a day and keep saying, greetings, how are you doing? How have you been? How are you? That comes for only the first time you're sending the email to a client or a customer on the same day. So the second time, third time, fourth time, 10th time you're sending an email to a particular client or a customer on the same day, please remove the header. And you can also remove, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a nice day. You can remove that also from the second or third or fourth email. Matthew, I think I told you that thanks and regards have a particular meaning. Instead of saying thank you and regards doesn't sound right. So when you say thanks and regards, you're thanking the customer or the client for giving you an opportunity to help that person in any way. Regards means you are conveying your best regards, your best wishes to that person. So please do not say thank you and regards, just say thanks and regards. Best regards alone is okay, Swaminathan, but you would also, when you thank the client or the customer also, he will make that person feel better.